Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for the Monday Q&A, so without further ado, let's get it done. I'm 5'7", small joints, 6-inch wrist, 8-inch ankles, hands and feet. I've gained about 50 pounds after just a year of training, from 125 to 175, which is damn good, by the way. However, I am still small, I feel, and my lifts are still low. My maxes are 225 bench, 315 squat, 405 deadlift, or smaller lifts doomed by having smaller joints. No, you're not doomed. Now, not all of my joints are small, but my wrists are only half an inch bigger than yours. So I don't have particularly big wrists. And I lift a lot more than you, and I have benched well over 400 pounds when younger, so it's not necessarily an issue. Now, small joints is considered tremendously beneficial for bodybuilding. If you have really small joints, you can get that really aesthetic look easily. Now, you might not be a top-level lifter in a heavy weight class, and so just keep that in mind. I would recommend that you don't go way up into the heavy weights as a power lifter if you have small joints, unless you're just doing it for fun. Don't expect to be competitive, but in all honesty, your progress has been fantastic. You've put on 50 pounds, and your lifts are really good. They're not weak. Those lifts are quite good for first year of training. I think that you have done a good job reaching that in a year. You should be proud of yourself, and that you should continue to improve and keep looking forward. Those lifts are nothing to be ashamed of at the 1 year mark by any means. Plenty of guys doing a lot worse. So I wouldn't sweat that. And honestly, your joints don't seem as small as you think they do, to be honest. Just keep training, keep improving, and if things like your wrists start to bother you, then wrap them up. I mean, even I have to use wrist wraps to bench press. I wrap up anytime I go over 100 kilos. So don't worry about it. Just keep progressing, know that you've done well, and keep pushing for more. You'll get there. Just patience and consistency. Next question. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and the amount of carbs I eat on this bulk is driving my blood glucose levels crazy. Could I drastically cut back on carbs and replace with fats maybe? Normally, I don't like that, but in the case of a diabetic or someone who just can only handle so many carbs because they just feel terrible and lethargic, and you probably do. To be honest, if you're bulking on ultra high carbs as a type 1 diabetic, having to inject the extra insulin, which, again, is going to cause you other health problems down the road. So I think it's probably reasonable. Go ahead and increase it. Add stuff like olive oil, get some really good monounsaturated fats. Or you could up protein, or a combination of the two at this point. I'd say for you, though, that's probably an advisable choice, particularly if you know that you're not feeling well and you're having to use more insulin than you really want to. Just to control that, yeah, it's probably time to adjust macronutrients and lower your carbs a little bit and replace it with protein or fats. Absolutely. And the same would even go for someone else who's possibly pre-diabetic. You could run into the same issue. If you're just not handling carbs very well, then switch to higher fiber carb sources. Or you may have to do the same thing, cut your carbs a little bit and replace it with protein if you just feel terrible on too high of carbs. It's just, some people don't function as well as others on the ultra high carbs. It just depends on the person, but for most athletes, I generally recommend the ultra high carbs. But again, not everyone can function very well that way, and so you have to adjust these things according to preference and the way that you feel. You can't be dogmatic with this sort of stuff, because one size is not going to fit everybody, even though biomechanically it might in certain ways. If your mood and health and energy and things are suffering, then you need to change something, guys. All right, next question. Is cannibalism paleo? Yeah, it actually is. And if you go back and look through Paleolithic times and even hunter and gatherer tribes, cannibalism has been really, really common historically. And even we know that from the archaeological record that even during Paleolithic times, cannibalism was very, very widespread. So yeah, eating human flesh is absolutely paleo, but eating broccoli is not. And the reason for that is broccoli simply did not exist in Paleolithic times. It is a man-made product. It originally was a flower, and we have cultivated that flower from the same species of flower we have cultivated through agriculture. Remember, Paleolithic is anti-agriculture. So the whole purpose of the paleo diet is that they're anti-agriculture, anti all these grains and things, even though Paleolithic people ate grains. We know that from the historical records. The paleo people don't tell you that, but every time we find a body that's been preserved well enough from the Paleolithic era that we can see the contents of the GI tract, they always have grains in it. So they ate grains. So human flesh is paleo, grains are paleo, but broccoli is not, because broccoli, kale, cauliflower, and cabbage all come from the same flower, and we basically selectively bred that flower with agriculture as an unnatural food to turn the flowering bud into all those different vegetables, into different plants. So we've created all these new species of plants from that one species of flower through agriculture and cultivation and selective breeding. So remember, you can't eat broccoli on paleo, but human flesh and barley should be good to go. At least we know from Paleolithic times and the data gathered from anthropologists. Alright guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.